A poor young woman missed her job interview to help a woman in a wheelchair, and that woman ended up wanting her as a daughter-in-law for her millionaire son. Before we begin this incredible story, let us know in the comments which city you're watching from and what your local time is right now. And don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10 at the end. Trust us, you won't want to miss a single moment. Now enjoy the story. Emily Lawson was walking quickly down the Manhattan sidewalk, clutching a manila folder against her turquoise blazer. The sound of her heels on the pavement echoed like a ticking time bomb. Click, clack, click. Each step reminded her that time was slipping away, and with it, her last chance at survival. The interview at the Grandview Hotel was scheduled for 11 a.m. sharp. It was 10:55. 5 minutes. Just 5 more minutes, and she'd be there. 5 minutes between her and a fresh start. 5 minutes between eviction and employment. 5 minutes between desperation and hope. Her bank account showed exactly $47.23. Her rent was 3 weeks overdue. Her landlord had slipped the final notice under her door that morning, printed in aggressive red ink. Vacate by Friday or face legal action. And her mother, sweet, sick, wonderful, Mom had medical bills stacking up like a house of cards, ready to collapse. This job was everything. This job was survival. Emily's fingers tightened around the folder containing her resume, her references, her carefully rehearsed answers to every possible interview question. She'd spent the previous night practicing in front of the bathroom mirror until 2 a.m., her reflection staring back with exhausted but determined eyes. Tell me about yourself, Miss Lawson. My greatest strength is my ability to adapt and connect with people from all walks of life. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Employed. Please, God, just employed. She checked her watch again, 10:56 a.m. 4 minutes. The Grandview's golden awning was visible just 2 blocks ahead, gleaming in the morning sun like a beacon of salvation. You've got this, Emily. Just keep walking. Don't stop. Don't look. Please, can someone help me? The desperate voice cut through the morning traffic noise like a knife. Emily's steps faltered. Her heart sank. No, 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 not now. Please, universe, not now. My wheelchair, the wheel is stuck. Please, someone. Emily turned her head and saw her. An elegant elderly woman with silver white hair, dressed in a burgundy suit jacket, with a silk scarf tied gracefully around her neck. She sat in a wheelchair that looked expensive, chrome frame, custom cushioning, but one of the front wheels was wedged deep into a jagged crack in the broken sidewalk. The woman was pulling at the armrests, pushing with her hands, trying desperately to free herself. The chair squeaked and groaned but wouldn't budge. Her face was flushed with effort and frustration. People streamed past on both sides, businessmen with briefcases, women in power suits, delivery workers, students with headphones. Everyone had somewhere urgent to be. Everyone kept walking. No one stopped. Emily looked at her watch. It was 10:57 a.m. 3 minutes. She looked at the hotel. So close, she could see the doorman greeting guests. She looked back at the woman, now almost in tears. You could still make it, a voice whispered in Emily's head. Just walk. You don't know her. She's not your responsibility. You have your own life to save, your own mother to help, your own rent to pay. Walk, Emily. Just walk. But Emily Lawson had never been the kind of person who could just walk away. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath that felt like swallowing broken glass, and made her choice. Hold on, ma'am, Emily called out, rushing over. I've got you. The woman looked up, relief flooding her refined features. Oh, thank heavens. I thought I'd be stuck here until next Tuesday. Emily dropped to her knees on the dirty sidewalk, not caring that her only interview suit, the turquoise one she'd bought on clearance 2 years ago, would probably be ruined. She set her folder carefully aside and examined the trapped wheel. It wasn't just stuck. It was wedged, caught in a deep crack where the sidewalk had split, with a piece of broken concrete jamming the spokes. "Okay," Emily muttered, wrapping her hands around the wheel. "Let's get you out of here." She pulled. Nothing. She adjusted her grip and pulled harder. Still nothing. "What is this thing?" Emily gasped, her manicured nails painted carefully last night for the interview, digging into the rubber tire. A crack or a Grand Canyon? The woman actually laughed. A warm, genuine sound. "At this point, I'm convinced fate put it here just to test us." "Well, fate has terrible timing," Emily grunted, now pushing instead of pulling, trying to rock the wheel free. Her arms trembled, sweat beaded on her forehead. "Dear, you don't have to do this," the woman said softly, watching Emily struggle. "You clearly have somewhere important to be." "I'm not leaving you stuck in a sidewalk," Emily panted, repositioning herself for better leverage. "That's not how my mother raised me." The woman's eyes softened. She studied Emily's face with an intensity that felt like she was seeing straight into her soul. Emily braced her feet, grabbed the wheelchair frame, and pulled with everything she had. Her leg muscles screamed. Her shoulders burned. One of her nails cracked and tore. And then, clack, the wheel popped free so suddenly that Emily almost fell backward. A nearby pigeon squawked and flew away in a flurry of startled wings. "There," Emily said, breathing hard, her hands scraped and dirty. "Free as a bird. Well, freer than that pigeon, anyway." She stood up, dusting off her knees. Her turquoise blazer had a dark smudge on the sleeve. Her palms were bleeding slightly. But the woman was free. "You're an absolute angel," the woman said, her voice thick with emotion. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Emily. Emily Lawson." She glanced at her watch, and her heart stopped. "Shi Dan Ling Senfen." "No. It's wonderful to meet you, Emily." "I'm Brenda Harper." But Emily barely heard her. She was already grabbing her folder, already turning toward the hotel. "I'm so sorry. I really have to run. I have a job interview and I'm already late and—" "Go, dear, go!" Brenda waved her forward. "Don't let me make you any later." Emily ran. She ran like her life depended on it because it did. Her heels clacked frantically against the pavement. Her folder flapped in her grip. Her breath came in gasps. The Grand View Hotel loomed ahead. The golden revolving doors, the polished marble steps. She burst through the entrance at 11:07, disheveled and sweating, her carefully styled braids slightly askew. The doorman, a kind-faced older gentleman, gave her a sympathetic look that made her stomach drop. "The interview?" Emily gasped. "I'm sorry, miss." He shook his head slowly. "They finished up about 5 minutes ago. The position's been filled." The words hit Emily like a physical blow. No, please. Something happened. I helped someone, Let me get the hiring manager." Mr. Peterson appeared moments later, tall and thin, holding a stack of resumes with a red hired stamp on the top one. His expression was cold, professional, completely devoid of sympathy. "Miss Lawson, I presume?" "Yes." "Mr. Peterson, I'm so sorry I'm late. There was a woman stuck in—" He held up one hand, cutting her off mid-sentence. "Miss Lawson, your interview was scheduled for 11 a.m. It is now 11:08. The position has been filled." "But it's only 8 minutes. I was helping someone who—" "We're not hiring kindness, Miss Lawson." His voice was sharp, final. "We're hiring punctuality, reliability, professionalism." He turned and walked away, leaving Emily standing in the grand lobby in her dirty suit with her scraped hands and her broken dreams. The other candidates were leaving well-dressed men and women with confident smiles. One woman actually laughing into her phone about nailing the interview. Emily stood frozen, watching them pass, watching her last chance walk out the door with them. She stumbled outside and sank onto the marble steps, her folder resting limply in her lap. The morning sun felt cruel now, too bright, too cheerful for the darkness crushing her chest. I saved someone's day and destroyed mine, she thought bitterly. Perfect. Just perfect. Tears threatened, hot and humiliating behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not here. Not in public. She'd cry later, in her tiny apartment, before the landlord's deadline, while packing the few possessions she owned. Emily. Emily! Wait! She looked up, vision blurring. A wheelchair was approaching the same wheelchair she'd freed minutes ago, but now a well-dressed driver in a crisp black suit was pushing it. And Brenda Harper sat straight-backed and elegant, her silver hair gleaming in the sunlight. Oh, sweetheart. Brenda's face creased with concern. Did you get the job? Emily tried to smile, failed, and settled for a shaky laugh. No, I was 5 minutes late. Then it's my fault. Brenda's expression turned fierce. If I hadn't been stuck... No, it's not your fault. Emily wiped her eyes quickly. That sidewalk crack was the villain here. You were just the damsel in distress, and I was the idiot who thought kindness mattered more than punctuality. Brenda studied her for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was softer, but there was something calculating in her eyes, something sharp and intelligent that Emily didn't quite catch in her misery. You have a remarkable heart, Emily Lawson, and I believe people with remarkable hearts deserve remarkable opportunities. Emily blinked. Opportunities? Yes, Brenda smiled mysteriously. How about we go grab a coffee? There's a lovely cafe just around the corner. I'd very much like to talk with you. Oh, Mrs. Harper, you don't have to. Nonsense. You rescued me from a sidewalk prison. The least I can do is buy you a cappuccino. Brenda's eyes twinkled. Besides, my dear, my only appointment today is with fate. And I have a feeling fate brought you to me for a reason. Emily hesitated, then looked back at the Grandview Hotel, at the doors that had closed on her last opportunity, at the life she couldn't afford anymore. What did she have to lose? Okay, she said quietly. Coffee sounds nice, actually. The cafe was small but elegant, with marble-topped tables and the rich aroma of fresh espresso. Brenda ordered 2 cappuccinos like she owned the place, which, Emily thought numbly, she probably could afford to. They sat by the window, morning light streaming across their table. Brenda folded her hands and looked at Emily with the kind of intensity that made Emily feel both seen and slightly uncomfortable. Tell me about yourself, Emily. And somehow, in that cafe, with nothing left to lose, Emily found herself talking about her mother's illness, about the medical bills that never stopped coming, about the eviction notice, about months of job applications and rejection emails and interviews that led nowhere, about how this morning's interview had been her last shot. Brenda listened without interrupting, her expression growing more thoughtful with each revelation. Finally, when Emily's words ran dry, Brenda leaned forward. Emily, dear, let me ask you something. What do you think you're missing right now? What's the one thing that would change everything? A job, Emily said immediately. Any job. Anything that pays enough to... A job, Brenda repeated, nodding slowly. Yes, that would certainly help. She paused, then smiled in a way that made Emily's stomach flip nervously. And perhaps a husband? Emily choked on her cappuccino. I'm sorry, what? You're not wearing a ring, Brenda observed calmly, gesturing to Emily's bare left hand. So I assume you're not married or engaged, correct? Yes, correct. But Mrs. Harper, I barely have time to keep myself fed. I definitely don't have time for dating. Who said anything about dating? Brenda's smile widened. I'm talking about something much more practical. Before Emily could respond, Brenda pulled out her phone and made a quick call. Derek, darling. Yes, it's Mother. I need you to come to the Riverside Cafe immediately. No, it's not an emergency. Well, it's not that kind of emergency. Derek Alexander Harper, you'll come now or Yes, that's what I thought. See you in 10 minutes. She hung up and turned back to Emily, who was staring at her in bewildered confusion. What? What's happening right now? When? Emily, sweetheart, I'd like you to meet my son. Your son? Yes. He's a wonderful young man. Successful, intelligent, handsome, though perhaps a bit too serious for his own good. Brenda sighed dramatically and utterly terrible at finding a wife. Emily's brain was struggling to process this conversation. Mrs. Harper, I'm really confused about where this is. You helped me today without expecting anything in return. Do you know how rare that is? In a city of millions, you were the only one who stopped. The only one who cared more about another person than your own desperate situation. Brenda's voice grew intense. That tells me everything I need to know about your character, Emily Lawson, and it tells me you're exactly what my son needs. The cafe door chimed. A man walked in, and Emily's breath caught. He was tall, over 6 feet, with a perfectly tailored charcoal gray suit that probably cost more than 3 months of Emily's rent. His dark hair was styled impeccably. His jaw could cut glass. He wore a watch that gleamed with obvious expense, and he carried himself with the kind of confidence that came from never having worried about money in his entire life. He was also, Emily noted with sinking dread, clearly annoyed. Mom. His voice was deep, clipped. What's the emergency? I have back-to-back meetings all afternoon. Sit down, Derek. He sat, his movements precise and controlled. Then, his eyes landed on Emily. Up close, they were striking dark brown, intelligent, and currently filled with polite confusion. Derek, Brenda said cheerfully. This is Emily Lawson, the remarkable young woman who helped me this morning when my wheelchair got stuck. Oh. Derek's expression softened slightly. He extended his hand across the table. Thank you for helping my mother. I'm Derek Harper. Emily shook his hand, noting its warmth, its strength, the calluses that suggested he wasn't afraid of actual work despite his obvious wealth. Nice to meet you, she managed. Now then. Brenda folded her hands, looking between them with satisfaction. Let's get straight to business, shall we? Business? Derek frowned. Yes, Emily, my son needs a wife. Derek, Emily needs opportunities. I'm offering you both what you need. The silence that followed was so complete. Emily could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. Derek stared at his mother. I'm sorry. What? Emily found her voice at the same moment. Mrs. Harper, I think there's been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, dear. Brenda's smile was serene, unshakable. I'm proposing a marriage between you two. Derek stood up so fast his chair scraped loudly against the floor. Mom! Outside, now! Derek Alexander. Now. They stepped outside, but Emily could see them through the cafe window. Derek's animated gestures. Brenda's calm, implacable responses. Derek running his hands through his hair in obvious frustration. Finally, they came back inside. Derek sat down heavily, his jaw clenched so tight Emily worried he might crack a tooth. Brenda resumed her seat with the satisfied air of someone who just won an argument. Emily, she began. "Let me be very clear about what I'm proposing. This isn't about romance or love at first sight or any of that fairy tale nonsense." She leaned forward. "This is a business arrangement. A contract marriage. You marry my son." "Absolutely not," Emily interrupted. "I just met him 5 minutes ago. And in return," Brenda continued as if Emily hadn't spoken, "I guarantee you immediate employment as vice president at the Grandview Hotel." Emily's protests died in her throat. Starting salary of $120,000 annually. A penthouse apartment in Harper Tower, rent-free, of course. And I'll personally ensure your mother's medical bills are completely cleared, all $85,000 of them. The cafe seemed to tilt sideways. "You! How do you know about my mother's bills?" Brenda pulled out her phone and showed Emily a screen. It was Emily's own social media page, specifically the GoFundMe she'd started months ago in desperation, the one that had raised exactly $347. "I'm very good at research, dear. And I'm very good at recognizing genuine people." Brenda's expression softened. "You need help. My son needs. Well, he needs someone to remind him what it means to be human. This arrangement benefits everyone." "This is insane," Derek said flatly. "Mother, you can't seriously "I'm deadly serious, Derek. You'll marry Emily within the week, or I'll remove you from the board of Harper Enterprises and designate your cousin Timothy as my successor." Derek's face went pale. "That's blackmail. I prefer to call it strong encouragement." "I'd lose everything I've built." "Then I suggest you reconsider your attitude about this marriage." Emily's head was spinning. This couldn't be real. This had to be some kind of elaborate prank, or a hallucination brought on by stress, or— "Mrs. Harper," she said carefully, "I appreciate the offer, but I can't marry a complete stranger. That's not how marriage works. It's exactly how marriages worked for thousands of years, dear. Arranged marriages have a better success rate than love matches, statistically speaking." "Mom," Derek said through gritted teeth, "I am not marrying someone I don't know." "Then get to know her." Brenda checked her watch. "You have until Friday. The wedding is scheduled for 2 p.m. at City Hall. I've already filed the paperwork." She stood, and her driver immediately moved to push her wheelchair. "Wait," Emily jumped up. "You can't just— I haven't agreed to— this is—" Brenda took Emily's hands in hers. Her grip was surprisingly strong. "Emily Lawson, you stopped to help me when no one else would. You sacrificed your last opportunity to save a stranger. That kind of heart is rare and precious." Her eyes were kind but firm. "My son has everything money can buy, but he's forgotten what truly matters. You can teach him, and in return, you'll never have to worry about money again. Your mother will get the treatment she needs. You'll have a career, respect, security." She pressed a business card into Emily's palm. "Think about it. You have until Thursday to give me your answer." "But Emily," Brenda's smile was knowing, "we both know you've already decided." And with that, she was wheeled away, leaving Emily and Derek standing awkwardly at the cafe table. They looked at each other. "This is insane," Derek said. "Completely insane," Emily agreed. "My mother has officially lost her mind." "I think she might have." Another long pause. "You're not actually considering this, are you?" Derek asked. Emily thought about the eviction notice, about her mother's latest hospital bill, about Mr. Peterson's cold voice. "We're not hiring kindness, Miss Lawson." "I don't know," she admitted quietly. "Are you?" Derek's laugh was bitter. "Do I have a choice? She meant it. She'll actually remove me from the company." They stood in silence, two strangers brought together by a determined elderly woman and a broken sidewalk. Finally, Emily picked up her folder, now bent and dirty, and headed for the door. "Where are you going?" Derek called after her. Emily turned back, taking in his expensive suit, his perfect hair, his life of privilege and power. "Home. To figure out if I'm desperate enough to marry a billionaire, I don't know." "And are you?" Emily looked at him, really looked at him, saw the frustration in his eyes, but also something else. Exhaustion, maybe even loneliness. "Ask me Thursday," she said, and walked out into the Manhattan sunlight. Her entire world turned completely upside down by a single act of kindness. What do you think? Would you marry a stranger to save your family? Let us know in the comments. And if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. You won't want to miss what happens next in Emily and Derek's story. This is just the beginning. Emily sat on her apartment floor that night, surrounded by bills she couldn't pay, staring at Brenda Harper's business card. Brenda Harper Matriarch. Harper Enterprises. Fortune favors the bold. "Bold or insane?" Emily muttered, flipping the card between her fingers. Her phone buzzed. Rachel Chen, her best friend since college, was video calling. "Em, finally, I've been texting you all day. How'd the interview go?" Emily's face must have said everything because Rachel's excitement immediately shifted to concern. "Oh no. What happened?" "I didn't get it." "What? But you were perfect for that position." "I was late." "How late?" 7 minutes. Rachel's eyes widened. 7 minutes? They didn't even give you a chance? "Nope." Emily took a shaky breath. But something else happened. Something absolutely crazy. She told Rachel everything. The wheelchair, Brenda Harper, the cafe, the proposal, Derek, the blackmail, the deadline. When she finished, Rachel was silent for a full 10 seconds. "Say something," Emily pleaded. "I'm trying to find words that aren't what the actual—" "Rachel, Em, this is insane. You can't marry a stranger." "I know, even if he is a billionaire." "I know, even if it would solve all your problems." "I know." Emily buried her face in her hands. "But Rachel, my mom's next treatment is in 2 weeks. I can't afford it. I can't afford anything. By Friday, I'll be homeless." Rachel's expression softened. "What about your mom? What does she say?" "I haven't told her yet. She'd tell me not to do it, to let her handle her own bills." "But," Emily's voice cracked, "she's dying, Rachel. The doctors say with proper treatment, she has a chance. Without it." They both knew how that sentence ended. "So, you're actually considering this?" Emily looked around her tiny apartment, the peeling wallpaper, the leaking ceiling she'd patched with duct tape, the empty refrigerator humming in the kitchen. "I don't know. Maybe. Is that crazy?" "Honestly?" Rachel bit her lip. "I'd probably do the same thing." The next morning, Emily found herself standing outside Harper Tower, a gleaming skyscraper that seemed to pierce the clouds. She hadn't called, hadn't confirmed anything. She just needed to see it, needed to understand what world she was being asked to enter. "Miss Lawson?" Emily spun around. Derek Harper stood behind her, dressed in a navy suit, coffee in hand, looking both surprised and wary. "Mr. Harper, I was just contemplating your future?" His voice was dry but not unkind. "Me too." An awkward silence stretched between them. "Look," Derek finally said, "I know my mother put us both in an impossible position. If it helps, I'm as unhappy about this as you are." "That doesn't help, actually." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "Fair enough." He gestured to a coffee shop across the street. "Do you have a few minutes? We should probably talk, if we're going to be." He couldn't seem to say the word. "Married?" Emily supplied. Derek winced. "Contract partners. Let's call it contract partners." They sat in a corner booth, untouched coffees between them. "Tell me the truth," Emily said. Why does your mother want this so badly? There must be dozens of suitable women in your social circle. Derek's jaw tightened. Because everyone in my social circle wants something. Money, connections, status. My mother thinks you're different. I am different. I'm desperate. At least you're honest about it. Derek took a sip of coffee. My mother has a theory that I've become too disconnected, too focused on business, not enough on being human. She thinks marriage will fix that. Will it? I doubt it. I'm very good at keeping people at arm's length. Emily studied him. Up close, without the shock of the initial meeting, she could see the exhaustion etched around his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. Why would you lose everything if you don't do this? You're obviously capable. Couldn't you just start over? Derek's laugh was bitter. Harper Enterprises isn't just a company. It's my life's work. I've spent 15 years building it into what it is. My mother holds controlling interest, but I'm the one who modernized it, expanded it, turned it into a global brand. He met her eyes. If she removes me, she'll install my cousin Timothy, a incompetent trust fund baby, who'll run everything I've built into the ground within 5 years. Everything I've worked for, everyone who depends on the company, gone. So we're both trapped, apparently. Another silence, less awkward this time. If we did this, Emily said slowly. Live together? Derek supplied. Yes, to maintain appearances, but separate bedrooms, separate lives essentially. We'd attend public events together, maintain the facade of a marriage, but otherwise we'd be roommates. Very expensive roommates. With a marriage certificate. Exactly. Emily's phone buzzed. A text from her mother's hospital. Payment overdue. Treatment schedule at risk. Derek noticed her expression change. What is it? Nothing. Just a reminder that some choices aren't really choices at all. Derek pulled out his phone and made a call. Catherine? Derek Harper. I need you to contact Mount Sinai Hospital regarding a patient named. He looked at Emily questioningly. Sharon Lawson, Emily whispered. Sharon Lawson. Clear any outstanding balances from my personal account. Immediately. Yes, all of them. Thank you. He hung up. Emily stared at him. What did you just do? I paid your mother's bills. Why? Because if we're doing this, you shouldn't have to watch her suffer while we negotiate terms. Derek's expression was unreadable. Consider it a signing bonus. Tears burned Emily's eyes. I can't. That's too much. Emily. Derek's voice was surprisingly gentle. My mother is going to force this marriage either way. We might as well make it bearable. For both of us. Emily's phone buzzed again. This time it was the hospital. Payment received. Treatment will proceed as scheduled. Thank you. She looked at Derek, this stranger who'd just saved her mother's life, and made her decision. Okay. Okay? I'll marry you. Emily took a shaky breath. But I have conditions. Derek almost smiled. Of course you do. Name them. 1 year. That's it. After 1 year, we divorce quietly, and I keep the job. Agreed. And no one can know this is fake. Not even my mother. I won't have her thinking I sold myself. Fair enough. And you treat me with respect. In public and in private. I may be desperate, but I'm not a possession. Derek extended his hand across the table. Deal. And Emily, I have one condition of my own. What? Give me a real chance. Not at romance. I'm not delusional, but at friendship. This year will be hell if we hate each other. Emily looked at his outstretched hand, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. The missed interview, the wheelchair, the impossible choice. She shook his hand. Friends. I can do friends. Good. Derek stood, back to business mode. The wedding is Friday at 2 p.m. I'll send a car for you. Very romantic, Emily said dryly. Hey, you wanted honesty. I'm being honest. As Derek walked away, Emily sat alone with her coffee, wondering if she'd just made the best decision of her life or the worst. Her phone buzzed one more time, a text from an unknown number. Wise choice, dear. Welcome to the family. Brenda. Emily laughed slightly hysterically and texted back, How did you know I'd say yes? The response came immediately. Because you're exactly like me, Emily. We do what needs to be done. See you Friday. Wear white if you want. It's still a wedding after all. 3 days later, Emily stood in her apartment in the only white dress she owned, a simple cotton sundress she'd bought for a garden party years ago. Rachel was applying Emily's makeup, hands shaking slightly. You know you can still back out, right? Just run. I'll hide you. We'll go to Canada. Emily smiled at her friend through the mirror. And live on what? Maple syrup and good intentions? I'm serious, Em. So am I. Emily took Rachel's hand. My mom's getting treatment. For the first time in 2 years, I'm not drowning in debt. I have a job waiting for me, a real job with a real salary. But you're marrying a man you don't love. No, Emily corrected gently. I'm entering a business arrangement with a man I don't know yet. There's a difference. Emily. A car horn honked outside a sleek black Mercedes. That's my ride. Emily stood, smoothing her dress. How do I look? Like a beautiful woman making an insane decision. Perfect. That's exactly what I'm going for. The ride to City Hall was surreal. Manhattan passed by the tinted windows like a dream or a nightmare. Emily couldn't quite decide which. When they arrived, Derek was already there, standing on the steps in a charcoal gray suit. No tux, no boutonniere, just a man fulfilling an obligation. But when he saw Emily, something flickered in his expression. Surprise, maybe. Or appreciation. You look nice, he said awkwardly. Thanks. You look very gray. He almost laughed. Seemed appropriate for the occasion. Brenda appeared behind them, radiant in a cream suit, her wheelchair decorated with subtle white ribbons. My darlings, are we ready to make this official? Not really, Derek and Emily said simultaneously. Brenda beamed. Perfect! That means you're already in sync. Let's go make you legal. City Hall was everything a romantic wedding wasn't. Fluorescent lights, linoleum floors, the faint smell of old paper and bureaucracy. The clerk, a middle-aged woman with sympathetic eyes, processed their paperwork with efficient kindness. Any witnesses? Just me, Brenda said cheerfully. And Marcus, my driver. The ceremony took exactly 4 minutes. Do you, Derek Alexander Harper, take Emily Rose Lawson to be your lawfully wedded wife? Derek looked at Emily. Their eyes met. In that moment, some unspoken understanding passed between them. We're in this, together, for better or worse. Probably worse. I do. And do you, Emily Rose Lawson, take Derek Alexander Harper to be your lawfully wedded husband? Emily thought of her mother, of the hospital calling to say treatment could continue, of the life raft she'd been thrown in a stormy sea. I do. Then by the power vested in me by the state of New York, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss if you'd like. Awkward silence. Or not, the clerk added kindly. That's fine too. Derek extended his hand. Emily shook it. Well, he said, that was painless. Speak for yourself. I'm married to a man who shook my hand at our wedding. Despite everything, Derek smiled. We're going to be terrible at this, aren't we? The worst, Emily agreed. But as they signed the marriage certificate, Emily Rose Harper, the name looked so strange, Emily felt something unexpected. Not love, not even affection, but maybe possibility. And for now, that would have to be enough. Are you Team Emily or Team Derek? Let us know in the comments. And if you're loving this story so far, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. Trust us, you won't want to miss what happens when these two actually have to live together. Chapter 3 is coming up next, and things are about to get very interesting. The penthouse apartment was obscene. Emily stood in the entryway of what was now supposedly home, her single suitcase looking pathetic against the backdrop of floor-to-ceiling windows, modern art, and furniture that probably cost more than her entire life savings. "Your room is upstairs," Derek said, already loosening his tie. "Master suite. I'll take the office." "Derek, this is your home." "I should." "It's fine. The office has a bathroom and a couch that converts to a bed. I sleep there half the time anyway." He headed toward the kitchen. "There's food in the fridge. Help yourself to anything. I have work to do." "At 6 p.m. on your wedding day?" He paused, something flickering across his face. "It's not a real wedding day, Emily. Let's not pretend." And just like that, he disappeared into his office, door closing with a quiet but definitive click. Emily stood alone in the massive apartment, wedding certificate in her purse, and wondered what exactly she'd gotten herself into. The next morning, Emily started her first day as vice president of the Grandview Hotel, the same hotel that had rejected her 5 days ago. The irony wasn't lost on her as she walked through the grand entrance, this time through the front doors as an executive, not a desperate job candidate. Grace Chen, the warm administrative supervisor Emily had been told would be her right hand, greeted her in the lobby. "Mrs. Harper, welcome." Grace's smile was genuine, her eyes kind. "Let me show you to your office." "Please, call me Emily." "Emily, then." Grace lowered her voice as they walked. "Fair warning, not everyone is happy about your appointment." "Let me guess. They think I only got the job because I married Derek? In a word?" "Yes," Grace sighed. "But I've been here 15 years. I've seen a lot of VPs come and go, and I have a feeling you're different." Emily's office was beautiful glass walls overlooking the city. Mahogany desk, her name already on the door in gold lettering. Emily Harper, Vice President of Operations. It should have felt triumphant. Instead, it felt borrowed. Grace handed her a tablet. "Your first meeting is in 20 minutes. Department heads. They'll be evaluating you." "You mean judging me?" "Potato. Potato." The conference room fell silent when Emily entered. 8 department heads sat around a polished table, their expressions ranging from skeptical to outright hostile. "Good morning," Emily said, keeping her voice steady. "I'm Emily Harper, your new VP. I'm looking forward to working with all of you." A woman at the far end of the table stood, tall, blonde, impeccably dressed in a designer suit that screamed money and status. Brittany Lawson, hotel manager. Her smile was cold. "Welcome, Mrs. Harper. Or should I say, Mrs. Derek Harper. We're all just fascinated by your meteoric rise from failed job candidate to vice president in less than a week." The room tensed. Emily met Brittany's gaze evenly. "I understand this transition seems sudden, but I'm here to work, not to waste anyone's time. Shall we discuss the quarterly projections?" "Of course." Brittany's smile sharpened. "Though I have to wonder, do you actually understand quarterly projections? Or did you study how to marry a billionaire instead?" A few nervous laughs around the table. Emily felt her face heat, but kept her voice calm. "I graduated summa cum laude with a degree in business management from Columbia. I understand projections just fine." Columbia. Brittany's tone dripped condescension. How? Impressive. Tell me, did your scholarship cover the full tuition, or did you have to work your way through? The implication was clear. You're not one of us. You're poor. You don't belong. Grace, sitting beside Emily, tensed. Brittany, that's inappropriate. It's fine, Grace. Emily pulled up the quarterly report on the main screen. Actually, Brittany, since you brought up credentials, let's talk about these numbers. According to this report, occupancy rates have dropped 12% in the last quarter. Guest satisfaction scores are down 8%, and food service complaints have increased by 23%. Would you like to explain why? Brittany's smile faltered. Those numbers are due to market conditions. The Waldorf's numbers are up. The Plaza's numbers are up. The Street Regis is booked solid through next quarter. Emily clicked through comparative data. So it's not market conditions, it's management. The room was dead silent now. Emily continued, her confidence growing. I see service staff turnover at 34%, well above industry standard. That suggests either poor hiring or poor retention practices, probably both. And your F&B costs are 15% over budget, which indicates either waste or theft. She looked directly at Brittany. So, yes, I understand projections. The question is, do you understand why yours are failing? Brittany's face flushed red. I don't have to listen to this from someone who what? Married the boss? Emily stood. You're right. I did marry Derek Harper. But that doesn't mean I don't know how to do this job. And it doesn't give you permission to disrespect me. She addressed the whole room. I know I have to prove myself to all of you. That's fine. I welcome it. But we're going to do this professionally, based on actual performance, not gossip. Emily gathered her materials. Meeting adjourned. Grace, please schedule individual meetings with each department head this week. We're going to fix these numbers. She walked out, knees shaking but head high. Grace caught up with her in the hallway, eyes shining. That was amazing. Nobody's ever stood up to Brittany like that. I probably just made an enemy. Honey, Brittany was already your enemy. At least now she knows you won't be pushed around. Grace lowered her voice. You should know Brittany and Derek dated. Years ago, Mrs. Brenda ended it. Emily's stomach sank. Of course she did. She's been bitter ever since. And now you're not just her boss. You're her replacement. Great. This just keeps getting better. That evening, Emily came home exhausted to find Derek in the kitchen, actually cooking. You cook? She asked, surprised. Don't sound so shocked. I'm not completely useless. He gestured to the stove. Pasta okay? I figured we should eat something that doesn't come from the restaurant downstairs. Pasta is perfect. They ate in awkward silence for a few minutes. How was your first day? Derek finally asked. Your ex-girlfriend hates me. Derek paused mid-bite. Brittany. She made it very clear I don't belong. She's always been. Derek searched for the word. Difficult. My mother never approved of her. Said she was only interested in status and money. Was she right? Usually is. Derek set down his fork. Look, if Brittany's giving you trouble, I can? No. Emily's voice was firm. I need to handle this myself. If you fight my battles, it'll just confirm everyone's suspicions that I can't do the job. Derek studied her. You're tougher than you look, Emily Lawson. Harper, she corrected automatically, then blushed. I mean, legally. Harper, Derek agreed softly. Legally. Something shifted in the air between them, not romance, but recognition. Two people learning to navigate an impossible situation together. For what it's worth, Derek said. The quarterly numbers you mentioned? You were right. Brittany's been underperforming for months. I've been planning to demote her. Don't do it yet. Let me prove I can turn things around first. Otherwise, it'll look like revenge. Derek smiled, a real smile this time. You're strategic. I like that. I'm surviving. There's a difference. Sometimes they're the same thing. The next few weeks fell into an unexpected rhythm. Emily would leave early for the hotel, working 12-hour days to prove herself. Derek would leave even earlier for Harper Enterprises headquarters, often not returning until late at night. They'd pass each other in the kitchen, exchanging brief updates, the occasional shared meal, gradually comfortable silences. Emily threw herself into fixing the hotel's problems. She implemented new training programs, restructured the F&B department, personally interviewed front desk staff to understand the turnover issue. Grace became her ally, feeding her inside information about hotel politics. Mark Stevens in events is working with Brittany, Grace warned one afternoon. He's Rachel's ex, right? Emily groaned. Of course he is. Why wouldn't my best friend's terrible ex-boyfriend be sabotaging me too? Because your life is apparently a soap opera? You're not wrong. The sabotage started small. Files going missing. Meeting times mysteriously changing. Emily's coffee showing up with salt instead of sugar. But Emily documented everything, stayed professional, and kept working. 1 month into the marriage, Emily was reviewing financial reports in her office when Derek appeared unusual, since he rarely visited the hotel. We need to talk, he said, closing the door. Emily's stomach dropped. That's never good. Are you ending this already? What? No. Derek looked confused. Why would you think, never mind? There's a major investor event next week, $500 million expansion deal. International investors, press, the works. Okay. My mother wants you there, as my wife, publicly. Derek, I don't know anything about even. You know business, you know hospitality. You'll be fine. He hesitated. Actually, that's not why I'm here. I wanted to warn you Brittany's planning something. How do you know? Because I know Brittany. And this event is too high profile for her to resist causing problems. Emily's jaw set. Let her try. I'm ready. Derek looked at her with something that might have been admiration. You know, when my mother forced this marriage, I thought it would be the worst year of my life. And now? Now I think it might be the most interesting. He left, and Emily turned back to her reports, a small smile on her face. She had no idea that the investor gala would change everything. The ballroom of the Grandview Hotel looked like something from a fairy tale. Crystal chandeliers cast dancing light across white-clothed tables. Ice sculptures gleamed in corners. An orchestra played soft, classical music. Emily stood backstage in a navy evening gown borrowed from Brenda, who'd insisted on taking her shopping, trying to calm her racing heart. You look beautiful, dear, Brenda said, adjusting Emily's necklace. And you're going to be magnificent. What if I mess this up? These are actual billionaires out there. Then you'll be in good company. Most billionaires are excellent at messing things up. Brenda squeezed her hand. Remember, you belong here. Not because you married Derek, but because you earned it. Derek appeared, devastating in a black tux. They're ready for us. He offered his arm. Emily took it, feeling the solid warmth of him beside her. Nervous? He murmured, as they walked toward the entrance. Terrified. Good. Means you care. He glanced at her. You really do look beautiful, by the way. Before Emily could respond, the doors opened, and they stepped into the ballroom. Heads turned, cameras flashed, the orchestra swelled. Mr. and Mrs. Derek Harper, the announcer proclaimed. Emily's smile felt frozen on her face as they descended the stairs. Hundreds of eyes tracked their every move, judging, evaluating, calculating. Derek's hand covered hers on his arm. Breathe, he whispered. You've got this. They separated to mingle, Emily found herself surrounded by elegantly dressed strangers asking polite questions that felt like tiny tests. "Mrs. Harper, how are you enjoying your new position? Tell me, did you always work in hospitality? Such a whirlwind romance. You must share the story." Emily navigated each question with careful honesty, feeling like she was walking through a minefield in heels. Then she saw him. Marcus Sterling, British billionaire, legendary for his temper and his influence. If he invested, everyone followed. If he walked, the deal died. He was talking to Derek, his expression skeptical. Grace appeared at Emily's elbow. "That's Sterling. Derek's trying to win him over. But Sterling's apparently having doubts about the expansion plans." "What kind of doubts?" "The kind that could kill a $500 million deal." Emily watched Sterling's body language, arms crossed, head shaking. This wasn't going well. The formal presentations began after dinner. Derek took the stage, commanding and confident, walking through the expansion plans with visual aids and projections. Harper Enterprises plans to expand into 5 new European markets over the next 3 years, creating approximately 2,000 jobs and generating an estimated— The presentation slide changed, but it was wrong. Emily frowned. Those weren't the numbers she'd reviewed. The projections were outdated by at least 6 months, and the market analysis was incomplete. She glanced around. Brittany sat near the back, barely suppressing a smile. Oh no. Derek noticed too. His pause was almost imperceptible, but Emily saw the flash of confusion in his eyes. He continued professionally, but Emily could see Sterling's frown deepening. Other investors were whispering. This was sabotage, and it was working. Emily pulled out her phone, quickly texting Grace. "I need the real presentation files. Now." Grace's response came seconds later. "On your tablet, in your office. Go." Emily slipped out of the ballroom, hiking up her gown to run through the hallways in her heels. She burst into her office, grabbed the tablet, and was heading back when she heard shouting from the ballroom. She ran faster. When Emily pushed through the doors, chaos had erupted. Marcus Sterling stood in the center of the room, wine dripping from his white Armani suit. A young server named Sarah cowered nearby, tears streaming down her face. "Unacceptable!" Sterling's British accent cut through the stunned silence. "Absolutely unacceptable! This is the kind of incompetent service you're asking me to invest in?" Brittany rushed forward with practiced concern. "Mr. Sterling, I am so sorry. We'll terminate this server immediately." "Wait." Emily's voice rang out, clear and firm. Every head turned. She walked forward calmly, tablet in hand. "Mr. Sterling, before we make any decisions, would you allow me to show you something?" "Mrs. Harper." Sterling's tone was icy. "Your server just ruined a $3,000 suit. I understand you're upset, but please, just look at this." Emily pulled up security footage on her tablet and handed it to him. Sterling watched, his expression changing as the video played. It showed Mark Stevens deliberately pushing a service cart just as Sarah walked past, causing her to trip and drop the wine tray. "This wasn't an accident," Emily said clearly, for the whole room to hear. "It was sabotage. Sarah is one of our best servers. She was set up." Sterling's face went from red to purple, but now his anger had a different target. "Someone deliberately sabotaged my evening?" His voice was dangerously quiet. Emily turned to face Mark, who'd gone pale. "Would you like to explain yourself, Mr. Stevens?" Mark opened his mouth, closed it, then practically ran from the ballroom. Brittany tried to slip away too, but Emily's voice stopped her. "Miss Lawson, stay. We'll be discussing this later." Emily turned back to Sterling and did something that shocked everyone, including herself. She switched to French. "Monsieur Sterling, permettez-moi de vous présenter les vrais chiffres de notre expansion." Meaning, Mr. Sterling, allow me to present the real numbers for our expansion. Sterling's eyebrows rose. Vous parlez français? Meaning, you speak French? Ma mère est franco-canadienne, which means, my mother is French-Canadian. Emily pulled up the correct presentation. Ces chiffres que mon mari a présentés ont été falsifiés. Voici les vraies projections. Which means, these numbers my husband presented were falsified. Here are the real projections. She walked through the presentation flawlessly, switching between French and English, correcting the market analysis, showing updated currency calculations, demonstrating a deep understanding of European hospitality markets. Sterling listened, his anger gradually transforming into something else. Interest. When Emily finished, she addressed the entire room. Mr. Sterling, perfection isn't about flawless service. It's about how we handle imperfection. Sarah is an excellent employee who was targeted by someone trying to sabotage this event. Firing her would be punishing the victim. She looked at Derek, who stood frozen at the stage, watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Harper Enterprises succeeds because we value people over appearances. We investigate before we condemn, and we don't let saboteurs win. The ballroom was silent. Then the doors at the back opened. Brenda Harper rolled in, her wheelchair pushed by Marcus, her expression serene but powerful. The room seemed to hold its breath. Brenda navigated to the center of the ballroom, her presence commanding despite, or perhaps because of, her wheelchair. Mr. Sterling, she said, her voice carrying effortlessly, allow me to properly introduce my daughter-in-law. She gestured to Emily with undisguised pride. Emily Harper saved a $500 million deal tonight with intelligence, integrity, and courage. She exposed sabotage, protected an innocent employee, and demonstrated the exact values that have made Harper Enterprises what it is. Brenda's gaze swept the room. Anyone who doubts her place in this family or this company can take it up with me. Marcus Sterling stood slowly. The room watched, tension thick enough to cut. Then he raised his glass. To Emily Harper, he declared in his crisp British accent, the only person in this room who had the courage to tell me the truth and the intelligence to prove it. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then Derek started clapping. Then the entire room erupted in applause. Investors crowded around Emily with questions, impressed murmurs, business cards. Sterling himself engaged her in a lengthy conversation about European market conditions, clearly delighted to discuss business in French. Brittany and Mark had vanished. Later that night, after the last investor had left and the cleanup crew had begun their work, Emily found herself alone in the empty ballroom. She slipped off her heels, feeling the cool floor beneath her feet, and just breathed. That was incredible. She turned. Derek stood in the doorway, bow tie undone, jacket over his arm. I just did what needed to be done. No, he walked toward her. You did what I should have caught before it happened. You saved the deal. You saved Sarah's job. You made Marcus Sterling, the most difficult investor in the world, respect you. He stopped in front of her. Emily, I owe you an apology. For what? For thinking this marriage was just an obligation. For treating you like a contract to be managed rather than a partner. Derek's voice was sincere. You're brilliant. And I've been too stupid to see it. Emily felt her cheeks warm. I'm not brilliant. You are. And everyone saw it tonight. He smiled, not the polite smile she'd gotten used to, but something real and warm, including me. They stood in the empty ballroom, the space between them charged with something new. We make a good team, Emily said softly. We do. Derek's eyes held hers. Maybe this arrangement isn't as terrible as I thought. High praise from my contract husband. I'm working on my romantic gestures. Give me time. Emily laughed, and Derek joined her. And for the first time since this whole crazy situation began, Emily felt something shift fundamentally between them. Not love. Not yet. But the foundation for it. Okay, we need to pause for a second because, wow, Emily just owned that gala. Drop a fire emoji in the comments if you're Team Emily. And listen, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you even doing? Click that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this story is about to get even better. Chapter 5 is coming next, and let's just say, Derek has a confession to make. Don't miss it. 2 weeks after the gala, Emily woke up feeling different. Not sick, exactly. Just off. She stumbled to the bathroom and barely made it before losing her breakfast. When she emerged, pale and shaking, Derek was standing in the doorway of her bedroom, concern etched on his face. Emily, are you okay? Fine. Just something I ate. You said that yesterday. And the day before. Derek's frown deepened. Maybe you should see a doctor. I'm fine, Emily insisted. But her stomach chose that moment to revolt again. That afternoon, Rachel dragged Emily to a drugstore. I'm just saying, when was your last period? I don't know. I've been stressed. And Emily stopped walking. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God is right. Rachel grabbed a pregnancy test off the shelf. We're finding out. Now. 3 positive tests later, Emily sat on Rachel's bathroom floor, staring at the little pink lines. I'm pregnant. You're pregnant, Rachel confirmed, sitting beside her. I'm pregnant with Derek Harper's baby. Well, technically, you're pregnant with your husband's baby, which is pretty normal. Rachel, this isn't a real marriage. We barely know each other. We haven't even... Emily stopped. We haven't even kissed since the wedding. Rachel's eyes widened. Wait, you two haven't? No, it's a contract marriage, remember? Separate bedrooms, separate lives? Emily put her head in her hands. How am I going to tell him? Well, traditionally, people lead with, I'm pregnant. But you could go with, surprise. Remember that one night you were drunk and, Rachel, sorry. Nerves. Rachel hugged her friend. Derek's not a monster. Whatever happens, you'll figure it out together. But Emily wasn't so sure. That evening, Emily prepared a special dinner. Her hands shook as she set the table, placed a small gift box at Derek's seat. When Derek came home, he looked surprised. What's all this? Dinner. Sit down. They ate mostly in silence, Derek clearly sensing something was off. Finally, he noticed the box. What's this? Open it. Derek lifted the lid and pulled out a tiny pair of baby shoes. His face went blank. Emily, these are baby shoes. Yes, but why would you? Understanding dawned slowly. His eyes met hers. Emily, are you? I'm pregnant. The silence stretched for an eternity. Then Derek stood so fast his chair fell over. We're having a baby? Yes, a baby. We're having a baby. He ran his hands through his hair, pacing. How? When? Emily's face heated. Well, there was that night about 6 weeks ago when you came home late and we'd both had wine and, oh God, Derek remembered. The night after the Sterling meeting, we were celebrating and you were so happy. And we got carried away. I thought we agreed to keep this platonic. Apparently our bodies had other ideas. They stared at each other. Then Derek did something unexpected. He laughed. It started as a chuckle, then grew into full, genuine laughter. Emily found herself joining in. slightly hysterically. "We're having a baby," Derek said again, wonder in his voice. He crossed to Emily and, for the first time since their awkward wedding kiss, pulled her into his arms. "We're having a baby." Emily relaxed into his embrace. "Are you happy or terrified?" "Both. Definitely both." He pulled back to look at her. "But Emily, I need to tell you something. I've been meaning to say this for weeks, and now—" His phone rang. He glanced at it and frowned. "It's my father." "You have a father?" "Barely. He's been in Europe for 15 years. If he's calling," Derek answered. "Eric, this is unexpected." Emily watched Derek's expression change from confusion to anger. "You're doing what? That's not your decision. I don't care what you think you're entitled to." He hung up, jaw clenched. "Derek, my father's coming back. He's calling an emergency shareholder meeting." Derek's voice was tight. "He's going to try to force me out of the company." "Can he do that?" "If he can turn enough shareholders against me, yes." Derek met her eyes. "Emily, I need to tell you something about why my mother was so desperate for this marriage." They sat on the couch, Derek's hand finding Emily's. "My parents' marriage was a disaster. My father is ruthless, cold, only cares about money and power. When I was 12, he left, said he was building a hotel empire in Europe, but really he just abandoned us." Derek's voice was raw. "My mother held the company together, raised me, built Harper Enterprises into what it is, but my father still owns shares. And he's been waiting for an excuse to take it all back." "What kind of excuse?" "Me being unmarried, he's been pushing my mother to force me to marry appropriately someone from the right family with the right connections, someone who'd give him influence." Emily understood. "But I'm not from the right family." "No, you're from a real family. You're genuine. And that's exactly why my mother chose you, because you can't be bought or manipulated by my father." He squeezed her hand. "Emily, what I'm trying to say is this stopped being fake for me weeks ago. Maybe since the gala. Maybe before." Derek turned to face her fully. "I've fallen in love with you." Emily's breath caught. "I love how you fight for what's right, how you treat everyone with dignity, how you made a home out of this cold apartment, how you laugh at terrible movies and sing in the shower and leave lights on everywhere because you're afraid of the dark." Derek's voice cracked slightly. "I love you, Emily. Truly. And I know you didn't sign up for that, but—" Emily kissed him. It was nothing like their awkward wedding kiss. This was real, deep, full of all the emotions they'd been holding back for months. When they pulled apart, both breathless, Emily whispered, "I love you too, you idiot. Why do you think I've been so terrified?" Derek laughed, pulling her close. "We're a mess, aren't we? The biggest mess." Emily rested her head against his chest, hearing his heartbeat. "But we're having a baby." "We're having a baby," Derek agreed, wonder in his voice. For one perfect moment, everything felt right. Then Derek's phone rang again. This time it was his mother. Derek put her on speaker. "Derek, darling, I need you to see something. Check the news." Derek pulled up a news site on his phone. The headline made them both freeze. "Derek Harper's secret. Contract marriage exposed." Below it was a photo of Emily and Derek's marriage certificate, marked clearly with temporary arrangement in the notes section. "No," Emily whispered. The article detailed everything Brenda's blackmail, the contract terms, even quoted anonymous sources saying the marriage was a business arrangement to secure Derek's inheritance. "Who leaked this?" Derek demanded. "I have my suspicions," Brenda said grimly. "Your father arrives tomorrow for the shareholder meeting. This is his opening move." Derek's grip on Emily's hand tightened. "What do we do?" "You fight, darling. Together." After hanging up, Emily and Derek sat in stunned silence. "This is bad," Emily finally said. If the shareholders think our marriage is fake, then my father will use it as proof I'm not fit to run the company, that I manipulated the situation for personal gain. And Carla Monroe? Derek's head snapped up. How do you know about Carla? She came to see me last week. Offered to help me understand I was in over my head. Said you and she would be perfect together. A real power couple. Emily's voice hardened. I told her where she could stick her offer. Despite everything, Derek smiled. I bet you did. Derek, is she really? Are you and she? No, never. She's my father's business partner's daughter. They've been trying to arrange a marriage between us for years. I've always refused. Well, Wunderidi. He pulled Emily into his arms. The only woman I want is you, even though I'm not from the right family, especially because you're not. Derek kissed her forehead. Emily, I know this is scary, but we're going to fight this. Together. How? We tell the truth, the whole truth, at the shareholder meeting. Derek's expression was determined. We show them that yes, this started as an arrangement, but it became real. You became real. Our love is real. And our baby is definitely real. Emily touched her still flat stomach. Our baby, Derek confirmed. And no one, not my father, not Carla, not anyone, is going to destroy what we've built. The next morning, Derek's father, Eric Harper, called a press conference before the shareholder meeting. Emily and Derek watched it on TV from the apartment. Emily's hand protectively over her stomach. Eric Harper was distinguished, silver-haired, with cold eyes, and a politician's smile. I've returned to save my son from a terrible mistake, Eric announced to the cameras. Derek married a woman who was unemployed, desperate, with no connections or background. My ex-wife forced this arrangement to spite me. He held up documents. This marriage is a sham, a contract, and my son is too blinded by obligation to see he's being manipulated. A reporter called out, "What are you proposing?" An immediate divorce, and a proper marriage to Carla Monroe, whose family's hotel empire would create the largest luxury hospitality group in the world, Harper Monroe International. Everyone would profit: shareholders, employees, everyone, except the gold digger who trapped my son. Emily felt sick. He's destroying us. Derek's jaw was set. Not if we destroy him first. The Harper Enterprises boardroom was packed. Shareholders in expensive suits, reporters with cameras, executives whispering nervously. And at the head of the table, Eric Harper, looking like a king reclaiming his throne. Emily sat beside Derek, her hand in his, trying to project confidence she didn't feel. She dressed carefully, a professional burgundy suit that hid her early pregnancy but projected authority. Across the room, Carla Monroe sat like a coiled snake, beautiful and dangerous in designer red. Brenda was wheeled in last, her expression serene but her eyes sharp. Eric called the meeting to order. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming on short notice. I've called this emergency meeting to address a crisis that threatens Harper Enterprises' future. He clicked a remote, projecting the leaked marriage certificate onto the screen. My son Derek entered into a fraudulent marriage with Emily Lawson, a woman with no business experience, no connections, and no qualifications beyond marrying into money. Murmurs around the room. Eric continued. This marriage was forced by my ex-wife as part of her vendetta against me. It has damaged the company's reputation and exposed us to legal and financial risk. He looked directly at Derek. I propose Derek divorce immediately and marry Carla Monroe. The Harper Monroe merger would create a billion-dollar empire, Everyone in this room would triple their investment within 5 years. Several shareholders nodded. All in favor of removing Derek as president pending his divorce? Hands started to rise. Wait. Derek stood, buttoning his jacket. His voice carried command. I have something to say. Eric smiled coldly. I'm sure you do, son, but this isn't about emotions. Don't call me son. Derek's voice cut like a blade. You lost that right 15 years ago when you abandoned Mom and me to chase money in Europe. The room went silent. Derek addressed everyone. My father left when I was 12, didn't call on birthdays, didn't come when my mother had surgery, didn't help build this company from the ground up. His voice strengthened. You weren't there when we almost lost everything in 2015. You weren't there when we landed the Sterling contract. You weren't there for any of it. He looked at Eric. And now you think you can walk back in and destroy what I've built? Destroy who I've chosen to love? Love? Eric scoffed. You married her out of obligation. Yes. Derek's honesty stunned the room. At first, I did. My mother gave me an ultimatum, marry Emily or lose everything. I resented it. I resented her. I thought it was the worst decision of my life. He turned to Emily, his expression softening. But I was wrong. Derek held out his hand. Emily took it, standing beside him. Emily Lawson, Emily Harper, is the most remarkable person I've ever met. She stopped to help a stranger when she had everything to lose. She sacrificed her last job opportunity to free my mother's wheelchair from a sidewalk crack. His voice grew passionate. She earned her position at the Grandview Hotel through intelligence and hard work. She saved a $500 million deal when it was sabotaged. She speaks 3 languages. She has a degree from Columbia, and she treats everyone, from investors to janitors, with dignity and respect. Derek looked around the room. Yes, our marriage started as an arrangement, but it became real. She became real. Our love is real. He took a breath. And our baby is real. Gasps erupted throughout the boardroom. Carla Monroe's face went white with rage. Eric sputtered. That you can't. This is manipulation. This is family, Derek's voice rang out. Something you've never understood, Father. Emily is my wife, the mother of my child, my partner. And anyone who can't accept that can leave with you. The room erupted in noise, some applauding, others arguing. Then Brenda's voice cut through the chaos. If I may, everyone turned. Brenda navigated her wheelchair to the front of the room with quiet dignity. Eric, darling. Her smile was pleasant, but her eyes were ice. You've always had excellent timing. Terrible judgment, but excellent timing. She pulled an envelope from her lap. These are our divorce papers, filed this morning, effective immediately. Eric's face went red. Brenda, you can't. Oh, I can. And I did. Brenda's voice was steel wrapped in silk. You abandoned this family. You don't get to come back and destroy it. She turned to the shareholders. I have an announcement. As of today, my controlling 20% stake in Harper Enterprises is being transferred. Everyone leaned forward. Brenda looked at Emily. To Emily Harper. The room exploded. Emily's knees went weak. Mrs. Harper, Brenda, I can't, that's... You can. You will. Brenda's eyes were warm. You've earned it, sweetheart. Not through marriage, but through character, through intelligence, through proving yourself every single day. She addressed the shareholders. Emily isn't just Derek's wife. She's now a major shareholder and his equal partner in this company. Anyone who doubts her place here can answer to me. Marcus Sterling stood from where he'd been sitting quietly. I'd like to second Mrs. Harper's motion. I've worked with Emily personally. She's brilliant, ethical, and exactly what this company needs. Other shareholders started nodding, standing, voicing support. Eric tried to speak, but Brenda cut him off. Security will escort you out now, Eric. You're not welcome in my family or my company. Goodbye. Eric's face was purple with rage, but he was outnumbered. Security approached, and he had no choice but to leave Carla Monroe storming out behind him. The shareholders who'd supported him looked uncomfortable. Then, the applause started. It began with Marcus Sterling, then spread through the room like wildfire. Shareholders, executives, even reporters were clapping. Emily stood frozen, overwhelmed, as Derek wrapped his arms around her from behind, his hands covering hers on her stomach. "We did it," he whispered in her ear. "You did it," she corrected. "No, we, together." Brenda wheeled over, tears in her eyes. "Welcome to the family, Emily. Officially." Emily knelt and hugged her mother-in-law. "Thank you for everything, for the coffee that day, for believing in me, for recognizing what my son was too stubborn to see." Brenda smiled. "That you were perfect for him all along." 6 months later, Emily stood in a garden venue, very pregnant, wearing a cream-colored dress that accommodated her round belly. This time, there were flowers. There were guests. There was cake. This time, it was real. Rachel stood beside Emily as maid of honor, dabbing her eyes. "Stop crying," Emily whispered. "You're supposed to be supporting me." "I'm crying because I'm happy. You, beautiful, pregnant goddess." Grace sat in the front row next to Emily's mother Sharon, healthy now, glowing, crying openly. Derek's side was full too. Brenda in her wheelchair, Marcus Sterling surprisingly in attendance, even some of the hotel staff who'd become Emily's friends. Even Mark was there. He'd apologized months ago, broken down and confessed that Brittany had manipulated him. Emily had given him a recommendation letter, and he'd found a good position at another hotel. Brittany was notably absent. She'd resigned rather than work under Emily, and no one missed her. The officiant smiled. "We're gathered here to celebrate Derek and Emily Harper's vow renewal. Though they're already legally married, they wanted to celebrate their love properly, with flowers and family and with actual vows that we mean," Derek interrupted, grinning. Laughter rippled through the audience. The officiant gestured for Derek to speak. Derek took Emily's hands, his eyes never leaving hers. "Emily, when we first met, I thought you were going to ruin my life. Turns out, you did. You ruined my carefully organized, emotionally sterile, lonely life, and gave me something infinitely better. Breakdown, please two, with Problemant and 41. Emily laughed through tears. "You taught me that life doesn't have to be perfect to be good. That kindness is strength, not weakness. That love isn't about grand gestures. It's about showing up every day and choosing each other." His voice caught. "You gave me a home, a family, a future, and soon, a daughter." He placed his hand gently on her belly. "I promise to love you, respect you, and be your partner in everything. Not because a contract says I should, but because I can't imagine my life without you." Emily was crying freely now. "Your turn," the officiant said gently. Emily took a shaky breath. "Derek, when I stopped to help your mother that day, I had no idea I was changing my life. I thought I was just being decent, just doing what was right." She squeezed his hands. "But fate had bigger plans. It brought me to you, this serious, organized, secretly wonderful man who needed someone to teach him how to live." Derek smiled. "You've given me everything I never dared to dream of. Not the money or the status, though that penthouse is really nice, but you gave me confidence. You believed in me, when I didn't believe in myself. You saw my worth before I did." Her voice trembled. "You taught me that I deserve love, not despite my circumstances, but because of who I am." She placed her hand over his on her belly. "And you've given me our daughter, the greatest gift imaginable." Emily looked into Derek's eyes. "I promise to love you, challenge you, and stand beside you through everything, because you're not just my husband, you're my best friend, my partner, my home." "May I have the rings?" the officiant asked. They exchanged new rings, simple platinum bands they'd chosen together, inscribed inside with the date they'd first met, not their wedding date, but the day of the wheelchair incident. "Then, by the power vested in me, I pronounce you still married, but now officially in love." The officiant grinned. "You may kiss your wife. For real this time." Derek pulled Emily close, one hand cradling her face, the other protecting their baby, and kissed her. It wasn't awkward. It wasn't obligatory. It was perfect. The audience erupted in cheers and applause. As they kissed, Emily felt their daughter kick hard. They both felt it simultaneously and pulled apart laughing. "She approves," Derek said, his hand on Emily's belly. "Good, because she stuck with us." They walked back down the aisle together. Husband and wife, partners, parents-to-be. At the reception, Sharon Lawson hugged Emily tight. "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart." "Thanks, Mom, for everything, for raising me right." "You raised yourself right. I just loved you through it." Brenda wheeled over, beaming. "I knew from that sidewalk. The moment I saw you sacrifice everything to help me, I knew you were the one." "You planned all of this?" Emily asked. "Not all of it. I planned the marriage. You two planned the love," Brenda winked. "I just gave fate a little push." Marcus Sterling approached with a glass of champagne. "Mrs. Harper, congratulations. And I must say, that expansion plan you proposed for the Asia market is brilliant. When can we discuss it further?" "After I have this baby and take exactly 2 weeks of maternity leave," Emily said firmly. 2 weeks? That's not enough. It's all I can spare. We have a company to run." Sterling laughed. "Derek, your wife is more ruthless than you are." "Don't I know it?" Derek said proudly, arm around Emily's shoulders. As the evening wore on, Emily found herself on the dance floor, or trying to dance with her prominent belly. Derek swayed with her slowly, carefully, his hands protective on her waist. "Can you believe where we started?" Emily asked softly. "A pothole on a Manhattan sidewalk, a missed job interview, a crazy mother with a wheelchair, a contract marriage." They both smiled. "And now?" Derek asked. Emily looked around at the friends and family celebrating with them, at Brenda watching with satisfaction, at her mother healthy and happy, at the life they'd built from impossible circumstances. "Now we have everything." "Not everything." Derek's hand moved to her belly as their daughter kicked again. "We're still missing one member of our family. 2 more weeks. I can't wait to meet her." "What should we name her?" Derek thought for a moment. "Something meaningful, something that represents how we started." Emily laughed. "We are not naming our daughter Pothole. I was thinking more like Hope, or Grace, or Fate," Emily said suddenly. "We could call her Destiny, or Serendipity. Those are both terrible names." "You have a better idea?" Derek pulled her close, swaying gently. "What about Sophia? It means wisdom, and God knows we needed wisdom to get through this year." "Sophia Harper." Emily tested it. "I love it." "Yeah?" "Yeah." They danced in comfortable silence. Then Emily said quietly, "Derek?" "Huh?" "Thank you." For what? For taking a chance on a desperate woman who helped your mother. Derek pulled back to look at her. Emily, I'm the one who should be thanking you. You didn't just save my mother that day. You saved me. From what? From a life of loneliness. From being so focused on success that I forgot what it's for. He kissed her forehead. You reminded me what matters. Family. Love. Kindness. Emily rested her head on his chest. We saved each other then. Yeah, we did. The song ended, but they kept swaying, lost in their own world. 2 weeks later, at 3:47 a.m., Sophia Rose Harper entered the world tiny, perfect, with her mother's determination and her father's serious expression. Derek held his daughter for the first time, tears streaming down his face, while Emily watched from the hospital bed, exhausted and radiant. She's perfect, Derek whispered. Just like her daddy, Emily murmured sleepily. Brenda arrived at dawn, wheeling into the hospital room with gifts and tears. My granddaughter, she breathed, seeing Sophia for the first time. Oh, she's beautiful. She looked at Emily and Derek, at their little family, at the love so evident in the room. You know what I've been thinking about? Brenda said. What, Mom? Derek asked, not taking his eyes off his daughter. That pothole on the sidewalk. The one that started everything. Brenda smiled. I had my team research it. Turns out it had been reported 6 times for repairs. But the city kept delaying. If they'd fixed it even 1 day earlier, none of this would have happened. Emily laughed softly. So we owe our entire marriage to municipal incompetence? We owe our marriage to you stopping when everyone else walked by. Derek corrected. To you choosing kindness over career. To you being exactly who you are. He looked at his mother. And to you being crazy enough to force us together. I prefer visionary, Brenda said with dignity. They all laughed, Sophia making small sleeping noises in Derek's arms. 6 months after that, Emily stood in her office at the Grandview Hotel, now completely renovated under her leadership. Occupancy rates at 98%. Guest satisfaction scores the highest in company history. Grace knocked and entered. Mrs. Harper, the board meeting starts in 10 minutes. Thanks, Grace. Emily gathered her materials. How's the new hire working out? Sarah? She's fantastic. Promoting her to supervisor was genius. She deserved it. Loyalty should be rewarded. Emily walked through the hotel, nodding to staff who greeted her warmly. No more whispers, no more doubts. She'd earned her place, and everyone knew it. At Harper Enterprises headquarters, Derek was in a meeting when his assistant interrupted. Mr. Harper, I'm sorry, but your wife is calling. She says it's important. Derek's heart jumped. Was something wrong with Sophia? But when he answered, Emily's voice was calm. Sorry to interrupt, but I just got off the phone with the Shanghai investors. They're in. Derek's face broke into a grin. They're in? The whole deal? The whole $800 million deal. We're officially expanding to Asia. Emily, that's incredible. How did you... I may have presented the entire pitch in Mandarin. Turns out my college minor is finally useful. Derek laughed. You're amazing. I know. See you at home? I miss you and Sophia. We miss you too. Love you. Love you more. Derek hung up and returned to his meeting, where the executives were waiting. Gentlemen, I have good news. My brilliant wife just secured the Shanghai deal. Applause around the table. One executive shook his head in admiration. Your mother knew what she was doing when she forced that marriage. Derek smiled. She really did. That evening, Emily came home to find Derek on the floor, playing with Sophia, who was giggling uncontrollably. There are my favorite people, Emily said, dropping her briefcase and joining them on the carpet. Sophia reached for her mother, babbling happily. "How was your day?" Derek asked, pulling Emily close. "Exhausting, triumphant, long." She kissed him. "Better now." "Same." They sat together, their daughter between them, in the penthouse that had become a real home. "Derek," Emily said quietly. "Yeah? Do you ever think about that day? The sidewalk?" "Every day." Derek looked at her. "Best pothole in Manhattan." "Worst timing of my life." "Best decision you ever made." Emily smiled. "Yeah, it was." Sophia grabbed both their hands, pulling them together. "She's bossy like you," Derek observed. "She's serious like you," Emily countered. "She's perfect like both of us." They laughed, and Emily leaned her head on Derek's shoulder, watching their daughter play. A year ago, she'd been unemployed, desperate, standing outside a hotel that had rejected her. Now she was a vice president, a major shareholder, a wife, a mother, all because she'd stopped to help someone in need. "You know what the best part is?" Emily asked. "What?" "I get to do this with you. Every day. For the rest of our lives." Derek kissed her temple. "The rest of our lives." Sophia looked up at her parents and smiled, as if she understood exactly how lucky they all were. And maybe she did. Because sometimes, fate just needs a little push. Or in this case, a wheelchair stuck in a pothole. So, what did you think? Did Emily and Derek's story give you all the feels? Rate this story from 0 to 10 inches the comments. Tell us which part was your favorite, the gala, the boardroom showdown, the vow renewal. And if you love this story, share it with someone who needs to believe in second chances and unexpected blessings. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on all notifications so you never miss our next incredible story. What other stories would you like to see? Drop your ideas in the comments. Thanks for watching. And remember, sometimes the biggest detours lead to the best destinations. See you in the next story.